You believe that being reliable, being honest, being consistently present, and prioritizing her needs above everything else is the formula for deep connection and lasting love. You believe that being the good man she claims she wants means being available at a moment's notice, texting back immediately, clearing your schedule to meet her demands, and offering emotional support relentlessly. But the reality that crashes down on you is this: the more available you become, the faster her attraction for you dies. The nicer you are, the faster she starts seeing you not as a potential partner, but as a reliable backup plan. This is not a flaw in your character. It is a fundamental, immutable truth of human desire rooted in scarcity psychology. And if you fail to understand this mechanism, you are doomed to repeat the cycle of being settled for and then discarded when a man with higher perceived value walks by. We need to dissect exactly why the concept of scarcity, the perception of value based on limited availability, is the essential ingredient for attraction and sustained desire, especially in women. Because once you grasp this psychology, you stop making the mistakes that turn desire into duty. Which city are you in? We are connecting men globally with these necessary truths, and knowing where this message lands helps us understand the scope of this universal confusion. The crucial distinction we must make is between need and desire. When you are too available, you satisfy her need for security, attention, validation, and emotional support. But comfort, safety, and security are the antithesis of desire. Desire is driven by emotional intensity, by tension, by the unknown, and by the constant, subtle fear of loss. You have become a guaranteed resource, and when a resource is guaranteed and abundant, its perceived value drops to near zero. When you position yourself as tap water, always running, always accessible, always free, you cease to be a treasure and become merely infrastructure. This psychological principle applies to three critical areas you destroy when you become overly available. Female psychology, driven by evolutionary wiring, instinctively seeks out the highest value partner available. High value is signaled in part by being in demand, by having options, and by having a life mission that is prioritized above immediate romantic pursuits. He signals that he has no competing demands on his time, no deeply rooted purpose, and critically, no other options worth prioritizing. The evolutionary instinct is simple. If he is so easily attainable, he cannot be high value. When the prize hands itself over immediately, the chase ends, and the hormonal reward of the hunt never occurs. This generates profound emotional flatness. Attraction requires tension, the push and pull, the ambiguity, the question mark over where you stand. That tension generates the adrenaline, the dopamine spike, and the intrusive thoughts that translate into desire. There is nothing left to explore, nothing to wonder about, and no space for her imagination to fill in the blanks, which is where true attraction often resides. You become predictable. The moment she knows she has you completely, entirely, and securely, the part of her brain that generates romantic anticipation shuts down. She might enjoy the security and the attention, but she stops feeling the urge to chase, to earn, or to connect on a passionate level. A strong masculine frame is defined by purpose, boundaries, and internal prioritization. Your life must be directed by your mission, your career, your goals, your fitness, your non-negotiable commitments, and not by her approval or her schedule. This signals neediness, and neediness is a universal attraction killer. Let's look at the behavioral manifestation of this availability trap. Consider the communication pattern. A man operating from a place of scarcity in his own life, or desperation for this specific woman, will exhibit high responsiveness and high volume communication. You initiate conversations multiple times a day. You flood her inbox with updates about your thoughts or activities. She instinctively compares this to the men she found exciting, men who might take hours to respond, whose communication was succinct and often left her wanting more, men whose schedules dictated their availability, not her whim. Your immediate response signals that your time is inexpensive, that you are not engaged in demanding high-value activities, and that gaining her attention is your primary emotional investment. This creates an immediate power imbalance where she feels suffocated by your emotional energy, and her respect, which is a prerequisite for attraction, begins to erode. When you are constantly available, you never require her to invest her time or effort to see you. She calls you Friday night at 8 p.m. asking if you're free, and you immediately cancel the quiet evening you had planned or put aside the work you were doing because suddenly she is available. You are conditioning her to believe that her convenience is your highest priority. High-value men whose presence women desire, teach women the opposite, that their time is valuable, that the woman must accommodate the man's established schedule, and that appointments are necessary. When she has to rearrange her schedule, when she has to wait, when she has to anticipate seeing you, that anticipation creates desire. When she merely has to beckon and you appear, the anticipation is replaced by expectation, which is a neutral, non-romantic emotion. This happens when you reveal deep emotional needs, vulnerabilities, and future-oriented plans, like moving in together or marriage, too early in the dating process. A man who operates from abundance is patient. He lets the relationship unfold naturally, revealing investment in measured doses. While honesty is good, excessive vulnerability without earned trust is perceived as weakness. When you prematurely expose the depth of your need for her, you shift the dynamic from a partnership of equals to a supplicant asking for acceptance. Your purpose must be the driving force, and she should be the complement, not the focus. The resulting psychological response in the woman is often contempt, disguised as comfort. She maintains you in her orbit because you are a safe option, a safety net, but she saves her emotional intensity and sexual energy for men who challenge her, who don't prioritize her, and who maintain that delicious element of scarcity. This is why you often see women date bad boys or emotionally unavailable men for years. They provide the scarcity and challenge that drives attraction, only to pivot to the nice, reliable guy, you, when they are ready to settle, exhausted, and need stability for family planning. But when she settles for you, not with you. And that distinction is the ticking time bomb of the marriage. To reclaim attraction, you must fundamentally flip the switch from operating from a position of need to one of abundance. This doesn't mean playing games or being intentionally cruel. It means valuing your own time, prioritizing your mission, and demonstrating that your life is rich and demanding, making your presence a genuine privilege, not a guarantee. This requires firm boundaries on communication, scheduling, and emotional exposure. It demands that you treat your time as the valuable asset it is, making her earn your presence through mutual investment and respect. Understanding this is only the first half of the battle. The next critical step is translating this awareness into specific, actionable behaviors. How do you practically introduce productive scarcity without becoming truly unavailable or aloof? This knowledge is too vital to keep to yourself, and this conversation needs to continue across every platform. You realize the profound confusion this analysis solves, the years of pain men endure thinking that kindness is the problem. Let us solidify this pattern recognition right now. Suggest one powerful, concise phrase or mantra about availability or scarcity that men should repeat to themselves daily to avoid falling into this trap. Write that phrase in the comments below. We are building a community committed to reality, not fantasy, and your contribution strengthens our collective clarity. Subscribe to this channel right now and tap that notification bell. Join the community of men who demand truth and reject convenient lies, because knowing these psychological patterns is the ultimate form of self-protection. And you must not miss the direct solutions to this problem. Our next session is the critical part 2, where we reveal the precise high-leverage techniques, the communication rules, the scheduling hacks, and the mindset shifts that instantly reintroduce tension and elevate your perceived value, making you desirable because of your self-prioritization, not despite it. The next time we meet, you will have the practical tools to transition from the reliable backup plan to the non-negotiable first choice. Stay grounded, stay focused on your purpose, and prepare for the second half of this essential knowledge. We laid bare the psychological triggers that link perceived availability to declining desire. We established that the moment you become too accessible, too eager, too compliant, you are no longer viewed as a desirable challenge, but as a reliable certainty. Now, in this second and final part, we move from diagnosis to execution. This is the culmination, the action plan that defines the high-value man. The greatest misconception men cling to is that showing profound effort and being constantly present is proof of devotion, and that devotion will be reciprocated with commitment and passion. That assumption is not just incorrect. It is the single most common reason why stable, good-hearted men find themselves consistently undervalued, ignored, and eventually replaced by men who demonstrate half the dedication, but possess twice the boundaries. Your excess availability is not seen as love. It is subconsciously registered as a lack of options, a deficit of purpose, and an abundance of need. And anything that is infinitely disposable loses value instantly. Before we dismantle this destructive availability mechanism and install the genuine principles of magnetic scarcity, tell me, where are you optimizing your life from? Knowing the community we are building, the geography of men who are dedicated to understanding these truths, helps us connect this content directly to your reality. Let us be precise about the true cost of being too available. It dismantles your personal identity. When you organize your life around waiting for her call, when you drop your plans the moment she suggests something, when you continuously prioritize her comfort over your own mission, you are not just being a nice guy. You are signaling to the world that you lack a structure, a purpose, and a non-negotiable personal hierarchy. This relentless over-availability leads to a cascading series of self-inflicted wounds. First, you develop chronic resentment. When she inevitably responds to your availability with indifference, or worse, with outright withdrawal, you become angry because you believe she owes you attraction and affection proportional to your investment. This transaction mindset, driven entirely by your availability, turns the relationship toxic, making you irritable, passive-aggressive, and profoundly unattractive. Second, you lose the respect of your own peer group and yourself. The men who respect you recognize that you are sacrificing your personal sovereignty for temporary emotional comfort, which is the definition of weakness. You stop feeling like a man on a mission and start feeling like a man on a leash. Third, and most critically, you destroy the element of emotional safety she seeks in a long-term partner. Women are hardwired to look for stability, which they often mistake for constant presence. When you are always available, you seem desperate, and desperation signals profound internal instability. How can a man protect her, her family, and their future if he cannot even protect his own schedule and his own self-respect? The solution is not to play games or to invent fake schedules. That strategy is transparent, juvenile, and ultimately ineffective. This scarcity is not artificial. It is the natural byproduct of a life truly dedicated to purpose. Intentional scarcity begins with the understanding that your time is your most valuable, non-renewable asset. To implement intentional scarcity, you must establish 3 non-negotiable pillars of a high-value life. Pillar 1, the primacy of purpose. Your mission, your career, your fitness, your personal development, these come first, always. When you prioritize your purpose, you are naturally unavailable. You are busy building, learning, and conquering. This behavior signals to her that her existence is an enhancement to your life, not the foundation of it. If she schedules a date that conflicts with a non-negotiable commitment, a major gym session, a work deadline, or a dedicated deep work time, you must politely decline or suggest an alternative without apology or excessive explanation. You are teaching her that your time is scheduled by your goals, not by her whims. The attraction increases because you are demonstrating leadership over your own life. Availability in communication is a critical vector for killing attraction. If you respond to her texts within 3 seconds every time, you confirm that you are doing nothing more important than waiting for her signal. When you answer a text after an hour because you were truly busy, you are reinforcing the reality that your life has structure and importance. Similarly, you must implement boundaries on access. Every interaction must be earned, planned, and valued. If she attempts to dominate your schedule without respect for your planning, you must gently but firmly redirect her. I can meet you after 8, or we can plan for Friday. This is not manipulation. This is self-respect. And self-respect is the single greatest precursor to earning her respect. Pillar 3. Emotional outcome independence. Excessive availability is usually fueled by the fear of loss. Intentional scarcity is built on the secure abundance mindset. You must be genuinely fine if the relationship ends tomorrow. When she senses that her ability to withdraw affection or attention does not cause you to panic and increase your availability, she experiences a profound psychological shift. She realizes she cannot control you, which paradoxically makes her desire to be closer to you intensify. It is the realization that your internal world is complete, and her presence is a welcome bonus, not a survival requirement. Observe how women react when a man shifts from excessive availability to intentional scarcity. She might manufacture a small conflict or attempt to pull away, waiting to see if you collapse your boundaries and return to the easily accessible default. If you hold the line, if you maintain your schedule, remain calm, and do not escalate your communication, she realizes 2 things. First, that her previous manipulation tactics no longer work, and second, that your commitment to your life is real. This realization triggers a massive spike in attraction, because you have reclaimed the status and perceived value you sacrificed through availability. The shift we are discussing is not tactical, it is transformational. The scarcity that maintains attraction is the scarcity of opportunity to waste your valuable time. You must internalize this truth. She is attracted to the man you are when you are not thinking about her. Being too available is fundamentally dishonest because it misrepresents your value. It tells her you are low status because high status resources, time, attention, access, are inherently rare and difficult to acquire. The ultimate conclusion is definitive and unavoidable. You lose attraction when you are too available because you remove the necessary psychological components of challenge, uncertainty, and perceived status. The human brain, both male and female, values that which is earned and that which is scarce. Your availability must become conditional, tied directly to mutual respect and genuine enthusiasm. If she demonstrates low enthusiasm, you lower your investment. You operate from a frame of reciprocal value, not desperate overgiving, because it is. When you start living this way, not as a strategy to manipulate her, but as a discipline to optimize yourself, her attraction becomes the natural, inevitable consequence of your high value. You deserve a relationship where your presence is cherished, not taken for granted. You deserve a woman who respects your boundaries, because those boundaries are the proof of your self-respect and the guarantee of your stability. Do not let this realization just be a momentary flash of clarity. To cement this new standard, I want you to drop a commitment phrase in the comments right now. Type, "My boundaries define my value." Let the world, and more importantly, let your future self, see your unwavering declaration. You are building a life of purpose, and that journey requires constant, unfiltered truth. Hit that subscribe button right now and give this video a like, because engaging with this content is an investment in your future clarity and success. Every man committed to this transformation stands together, and your subscription ensures you remain connected to this critical pipeline of information. Do not miss this essential insight into navigating high-level female psychology. It is the next critical piece of the puzzle for the man dedicated to optimizing his life and his relationships. Stay sharp and stay focused on your mission.